So if you want to spin the border crisis for your own political agendas, go right ahead. If you want to continue to use the southern border as a backdrop for your political campaign, that's fine. Good luck to you. But I have a very clear message for anyone using the southern border for staged political events. Don't come to Arizona. Take your political theater to Texas.
Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, not a fan of the kind of political border theater we've seen for years, or the make-believe in the nation's capital. Sinema spent months working across the aisle on what would have been the toughest border security law in decades. Republicans demanded it in exchange for voting on aid to Ukraine. And then Republicans killed the bill. Sinema's takeaway, quote, they don't actually want to secure the border. So, will Sinema bail out of the Senate after that stinging defeat? And is she right? Republicans actually don't want to secure the border? Joining us to discuss that and much more are Christine Jones, an attorney and former Republican candidate for governor, and Stacy Pearson, co-founder of the Democratic consulting firm Lumen Strategies. Welcome back to Square Off. Good to see you both.
Good morning.
Thanks.
Before we start, any financial connections to the topics or individuals we'll be talking about?
No,
I have appeared in a Super Bowl ad, but other than that, no.
Okay, yeah, Super Bowl ads a little. That's a little later. Immigration is the #1 issue among voters. I just saw an ad for a congressional candidate from New Jersey who shot it down near Nogales at the border. So that's happening again. Let's start with the policy. This bill was not comprehensive immigration reform, which we've become accustomed to over the years. It was comprehensive border security. Have we seen anything like this in the last 20, 30 years?
Well, I think if you go back to the Gang of Eight, there was more of a focus on the policy, the immigration reform piece. So perhaps not. But you know, the problem is anytime you have a bill that looks to secure the border that doesn't actually secure the border, it's probably dead on arrival. So with all due respect to Senator Sinema, you know, the political theater is going to continue because they didn't fix the problem.
Well, hold that thought. So because we hear what the Republican pushback on this, what would it take, or how do you define securing the border?
Well, I think if you think about it just sort of from a 35,000-foot view, this bill had 3 problems. One, it didn't really do much to secure the border. It codified the problem at the border that we have right now, and then it would have made it harder for any future president who wanted to wave the magic wand and fix it to do so. And I think if I'm Joe Biden and I had the week I had, I probably would issue the reverse executive order to what I did on my first day in office. Because look, which is you have to fund law enforcement. You have to use technology. You have to actually have a barrier in strategic locations. Those things make the border secure. Not opening it up to 4,000 or 5,000 people coming across a day. None of those things make the border more secure. None of those things make the people down in Sierra Vista who have to endure these repeated visits from random non-related members of Congress filming their ads. None of them make that more secure. And I think those basic fundamental things need to get done.
Stacy is very eager to jump in. Have at it.
I disagree with every single word that Christine just said. And when we look at who supported this bill that Sinema negotiated, it's Border Patrol agents themselves, their union, who stood in Trump commercials. We're talking about the mayors of Sierra Vista, the sheriffs in the border counties. These folks need help today. And what this defeat indicates is that this is just political theater and it is not good policy making. And we have no option to be able to close the border in a meaningful way. And this bill was that.
It was striking. Joe Biden supported this. The majority of Democrats in the Senate supported it. And no path to citizenship, nothing for the Dreamers, who apparently are going to have to wait for, I think, a Supreme Court decision.
Yeah, probably.
To
Which
figure
is
out.
terrible. Yeah.
Ruben Gallego, Democrat running for the Senate, progressive, he supported it.
That is the one really wild thing here, is if nothing else, we looked at policy that actually put Senator Sinema and Ruben Gallego on the same page. And that in itself was an extraordinary accomplishment.
But is it, again, we all live here. We all watch this. You know, a lot of folks just show up with cameras once in a while. You know, you had Jeff Flake try this in the 2000s. You had John McCain, as you know, to try this in 2013. Supermajority in the Senate passed the McCain bill, which was a Christmas tree for everybody. That didn't pass. This one, you want comprehensive reform? You got it. Got nowhere.
And still, 2 million pills were seized last week. 2 million fentanyl pills in Arizona's border alone. It defies logic that this couldn't pass.
Well, and there's one thing that Stacy and I will agree on every single time, that this is theater. If Congress wanted to fix this problem, it would have been fixed decades ago. It is just simply not that hard. But in order to create a leverage against which I can raise money and become reelected, especially in our system where we leave the same people in office for a really long time, the theater keeps happening, whether it's with Jeff Flake or John McCain or Kyrsten Sinema or, God forbid, Ruben Gallego. Congress doesn't want to fix this, Brahm. And if I'm Biden, again, why don't you just do something today? I got to take attention away from the fact that I have no memory anyway. So do something today to fix the problem, President Biden.
All right. Let's move on to Kyrsten Sinema and her fate. I don't think I've ever seen her this angry or this bitter. We know she does not like losing. Where does this leave her politically? Because she still has not announced whether she's running, and she has 50 days to gather more than 50,000 signatures.
So I think the compressed timeline has been overstated. I mean, candidates can collect signatures online. And I am certain there are 42,000 people who would click a link and sign their name. Their signatures are instantly verified for her to qualify for the ballot. And so she has more time than folks would lead us to believe. I mean, that's an e-blast. You can get 42,000 people to take action, and certainly 42,000 people want something other than the status quo.
She needs more than 42,000. That's about the exact number. Typically, you want an overage.
The system, because of the fact that candidates have a much easier threshold, those signatures are instantly verified at the Secretary of State office. On paper, they have to go check
So you think she can do it within 50 days?
Oh, I think she can do it in a week.
But will she do it?
That's the question. That's only the question she can answer.
After this failed, this could the success of this bill, passage of this bill, have been a springboard?
Well, it could have and it should have been, and I think that's probably what she was counting on. But I don't want to gloss over something you said earlier, which is the most important point about Kyrsten Sinema. Kyrsten Sinema does not like to lose, and if she doesn't feel like she has a path, I think she's out on the Senate race. I don't disagree that she can get the signatures in a very short amount of time. She has been very powerful in terms of her ability to communicate with voters, sort of on the grassroots level. But why is she going to throw her hat in the ring or put her, as I like to say, face in this fan blade of running for office again if she doesn't think she's going to win? That's not in her wheelhouse.
That's not in her wheelhouse, won't win. And I don't want. I think we're glossing over one thing. I've glossed over it. It does seem that Donald Trump's command to the Republicans in Congress not to vote for this was pretty powerful.
I don't think you can overstate it. As a Republican, it's even perplexing to me to say, if, and I don't know what the Republican voice was, if any, in the negotiation leading up to it, but certainly, on the House side, they did have an ability to reconcile. They did have an ability to make some tweaks that they thought would make this bill stronger. They still couldn't get the Republicans to support it. Again, political theater, because as happens in presidential races, candidates don't want their opponent to get a victory this close to the election, and I think that's what was going on with Trump.
And I just want to, again, emphasize that it's not that the bill failed on its merit. It didn't even get to debate. And that's the part, I think, that we see the senior senator that frustrated at the dais. It didn't even get its day in the sun, to Christine's point, be debated.